Okay, we are in Ois Tes Vav of Tzidkas Hatzadik. So if whoever's part of it could just come and drop closer, our moms can't scream across the whole. I don't mean you. Can I try this? What people are attracted to the back. So Tzidkas Hatzadik says the following. Mitzvah hu schus la'adam shetizdamen liyadai. I want to just make sure we don't read this quickly because this is revolutionary, I believe. But a mitzvah is a schus la'adam shetizdamen liyadai. A person gets a chance to do a mitzvah, so we should see it as a schus which has come to our hands. Okay, that's not a big kiddush, right? A mitzvah opportunity. We always talk about a mitzvah opportunity. K'moshe Amru, because you see the Chazal say, Pirkei Avos, schar mitzvah mitzvah. It's schar mitzvah mitzvah. Now, let me just tell you what the whole Mishnah says there. I'm sure you know, but let me just share with you the whole Mishnah. Mishnah says, Haviratz l'mitzvah kala kivachamura, that when it comes to a mitzvah, one shouldn't judge between a mitzvah kala and a mitzvah chamur, an easy mitzvah, a hard mitzvah. In a different place it says, because you really don't know what's a good mitzvah, but this is a different point. Ratz mitzvah kala kivachamura boireach mina avera. So you should be running towards a mitzvah and running away from an avera. So the Mishnah says two things here. This is where we need to be ma'ayin. First thing is, shemitzvah gereris mitzvah, va'avera gereris avera. That's the first thing. Because in other words, don't belittle a small mitzvah, because that small mitzvah, before you know it, you'll be doing a big mitzvah. Mitzvah gereris mitzvah. One mitzvah brings to the other, so you can't look at a mitzvah in isolation. Once you get involved with mitzvahs, you'll see how one thing leads to the other, and then you're doing a big mitzvah. That's one thing. And then it says, Sheschar mitzvah mitzvah, schar avera avera. That's the end of that sentence in the Mishnah. And like, there's a different thing. That not only is the mitzvah going to bring to a mitzvah, but schar mitzvah mitzvah, schar avera avera. So what does that even mean? Schar mitzvah mitzvah, schar avera. Right, schar avera avera.
It sounds like it's the same thing.
The what?
The reason, or it would be an outcome of doing one mitzvah is that it brings another mitzvah. And maybe another way of formulating it sounds like the same thing.
Like the same thing repeated.
I mean, it must be a Kiddush, but it formulating in a different way that it doesn't just drag a mitzvah, or it's not simply that one leads to the next, but it's also a schar
that the next mitzvah is a schar.
Right.
Or that the payment is what it is.
What does that mean?
That it's schar mitzvah is that you're getting schar, you're getting a benefit, or you're getting something, and it's a good thing. It's a mitzvah, a schar.
Well, how do you translate? You see, you're saying two different things. What schar mitzvah? What's the taich?
The taich is that the schar of the mitzvah is a mitzvah, and the schar of an avera is an avera.
That's not a taich. That's what it says. Listen, let me tell you what. So let me tell you what I think is wrong, and maybe many people learn the mitzvah. They see it as a repetition, but like another aspect, another dimension of it. Meaning a mitzvah brings another mitzvah, and not only that, but the schar of when you do a mitzvah, you get to do another mitzvah. It's a schar. The next mitzvah is a schar. So I don't think that's pshat, according to any of the Rishonim. I don't think that's the pshat. The pshat is that there's two parts to it. When you do a mitzvah, one thing is, yes, it'll bring you to another mitzvah, mitzvah gereris mitzvah, which is nice. You're on a mitzvah track. The other thing is that even forgetting about what it's going to bring you to, right now, the schar mitzvah is the fact that I got to do a mitzvah. Like, not the next mitzvah, the mitzvah that I'm doing. You understand this? Like, is that schar mitzvah? Okay, you're on a mitzvah track. We just said that. The schar, that you should know that the mitzvah itself, like it has a built, in unto itself, it has it is its schar.
Shechar mitzvah is going back on Zahar.
Yeah, Havirats. Let me just give you an example of what I think this means, just to put it down to our level. Let's say you help a person. You give a person tzedakah, you help a person. So, okay, you did a mitzvah. But and that mitzvah will lead to another mitzvah. And that mitzvah, great. You did a mitzvah, you got a lumhaba, you get schar, that's nice. There's another thing that mamash b'shas ma'isa, I'm just giving a mashal, b'shas ma'isa, you have satisfaction from the fact that you did a mitzvah. Like right here in Olam Haza Gishmak, like I helped somebody, it feels very good to help somebody, right? Doesn't it? It's a good feeling. As an example. So that good feeling that I have is not this is going to lead to a bigger mitzvah, and this is going to give me olam haba, or it's going to lead me to no. Like sheshchar mitzvah, the mitzvah unto itself already has the schar built in. Like there's already a satisfaction in the mitzvah itself. That's and if you'll see, not only do we have a revolutionary, Chaim, I have an idea. In my standard, there's a remote control, so maybe we could open this air conditioner. I see the air conditioner. Everyone's struggling. Thank you. Let's take a look at the examples that he gives. Kushmosha Amro. Just hold it under there. Maybe close.
Yeah.
Oh, you could open the other one too. Thank you, I appreciate it. Kushmosha Amro b'Tosefta. Here's a Tosefta and Peah. The Tosefta talks about a person, mitzvah shikha, and he brought an oila. So the story there in the Tosefta is, looked it up, the story in the Tosefta is that somebody did the mitzvah of shikha. Now, like, what's the mitzvah of shikha? This is a mitzvah you cannot do with kavanah. It's not intentional, because if it's intentional, it's not shikha. So shikha means that shikha means that you're harvesting your field, and you're walking through your field, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I forgot a whole bush over there to harvest. So you look back, and you forgot it. So the halacha is that you don't go back to take it. That's for the anim. That's the mitzvah shikha that came about because I forgot. So the story in let's move to Ruas and Boaz and okay, but that's clear. That's the Torah says leket shikha peah. These are things you do for the ani shikha. So the Tosefta tells a story. Actually brings it here on the bottom here. Ma'aseh b'chasad echad sheshachach omer b'toich sadeu. He did shikha. Again, this is not intentional. The shikha. V'amar libnai. And he says to his son, who was assisting him, "Say v'hikri v'alai par lo'oila u'par l'shlamim." Go bring a carbon right away. And there, Amar loy, Abba, Mara Yisa l'smayach b'simchas mitzvah. What are you getting all excited about? You forgot it. You did a mitzvah. What are you getting so excited about? Mikol mitzvah shabbatar. You don't go make a kiddush every time you put on tefillin. So why here are you getting so excited? Amalai, so the son tells him, "Kol mitzvah sheb'Torah nasan lanu amakim l'datenu." That every mitzvah is, Hashem says, okay, make a choice and have das and say l'shem yichud and do a mitzvah l'datenu. Zeu shaloi l'datenu. This is like sort of keneged our das. This is a bit of a mind twister. What do you think of it? She'ilu asinu b'ratzain lifnei hamakayim leibasa mitzvah zuli adenu. But the long and short of it is that of course he has free choice. He could go back and take the mitzvah. But the point is, this was not a mitzvah that he was intending to do this morning. It's not saying, let's go do the mitzvah shikha.
Couldn't you do that? I mean, if you're walking through a field and say, you know what, I'm going to walk past this one. Even if he does it with us, and he walks past and gathers the rest, he's not allowed to go back as well. Right?
It's not shikha though. It's not
It's shikha, but he could have even so that he's.
But that's not shikha. That's not by definition. It's not shikha. Could be your makayim a mitzvah of leket shikha peya, which is I think a big shaila, isn't it? A shaila in the Chazal. Whether there's a kiyum mitzvah, but the point is, don't get too technical because we're not getting into farming here. We're getting into mitzvah. So the non-technical part of it is that shikha, the mitzvah shikha perforce, is not an intentional mitzvah by definition. So okay, once again, so what was he so happy about? Hashem gave me a mitzvah. Like Hashem rewarded me with a mitzvah this morning. Go bring a carbon shlom, go bring a carbon oila. Hashem gave me this mitzvah to do. Now, what did he mean? Now I'm going to get schar. That's on the tefillin also. He's going to get schar. On his mezuzah, he's also going to get schar. But this was an unexpected mitzvah. I'm getting schar. Let's go a little further, and I hope to be able to explain this clearer. Ubesukah, but you see where this is not just a mitzvah opportunity. He's going someplace very deep here. Ubesukah, we find by a sukkah, the geshamim b'chag simin ra. Okay, so you build your sukkah, you do everything, you make your meal, you go out into the sukkah the first night of sukkah, and it starts to rain. So the Gemara says, if it starts to rain in the middle of sukkahs, so like one attitude is Baruch Ship Tirani from the mosquitoes and the bees, and I can go inside and eat normally because it's raining. So some people would be waiting for the rain or hoping for rain, but we don't pray for rain until the end of Sukkot, right? So like, and not only that, simin ralo. This is a bad simin on this person because the Gemara says a mashal to somebody who came and he brought water to his Rav, and the Rav came and threw the water in his face. I don't know what the background to this story might be, but the Rav threw the water in his face and says, I don't need you to be mashamish me. That's the lashon of the Gemara, right? In other words, obviously there's a sipur here. But the point is, here we're doing the whole mitzvah of sukkah, and then Hashem takes away the mitzvah of sukkah. It doesn't let us do it. The kiton shamayim is coming from the shamayim, and it's flooding us out ad kedekach, where we're patur from the mitzvah of sukkah, and that's a simin ralo. Now, what does that mean, a simin ralo? It means, simple, that I'm patur. So if I'm patur. What's the big deal? Patur, like a lot of mitzvahs I'm patur. I have no chiyuv in sukkah at this moment, from a lamdish point of view. Yes, it's true, but it means that Hashem didn't give you the opportunity that you could have had tonight. So it's a lost opportunity. It didn't work. Like you really want to give somebody kavod and you're not able to. Like you really want to give Hashem kavod, you're not able to, but it didn't work. A little bit further, and then I just like to try to explain. Ubechayvus halvavos shara b'tachin kasher Hashem yisbarach roitze lishleach darayin la'oyavai. What a beautiful lashon of the Kehillas Halvavos. That if Hashem wants to give us a gift, let's give us a gift. So what's going to happen? Gold is going to come from Shemayim. A lot of things can happen. Hashem wants to give us a gift, but the best gift that comes from Hashem, says the Kehillas Halvavos, mazmin loy ani. My gift to you, says Hashem. Here's the guy. He's an ani. Just to be clear, halachically, it's not necessarily, because I know everybody's got a whole thing about this. Not necessarily, a minute later, a guy knocks on the door. Tzadok. I don't, okay, that's a different story. Noistim loidav muat. Talking about, let's say, Hashem wants to give us a gift, and let's say a friend of yours or somebody in the community comes and says, I really need a gemach. I'm really stuck right now. I really need some help. I really need you to give me to boost my car. What's it called? Like a guy's stuck. Mazmin le mitzvah. So think about it, like you're driving down Fish Sheish, you see a guy stuck. He's an ani. That's why he's stuck. He's an ani. It's 103 degrees out there, and he's stuck. Maybe he's from, maybe he's not from. maybe you don't do anything dangerous, but Kadosh Baruch Hu just gave you a gift. So if he gave you a gift, so certainly don't drive by if he gave you a gift, but the Kehillas Shivtei says, like Dalacha, that Hashem wants to gift you something right now. Now, I just like to explain my own amaratzes. I always thought, I've heard this Kehillas Shivtei for years, I always heard it said that if Hashem wants to give you a schus, dahainu, wants to do a good thing for you, but so you need to kind of like unlock that good thing, like he wants to give me a parnasa of $1 million shekels, so he has to unlock it, so he's mazmin loyani to unlock that schus, and then all of a sudden Hashem is able to give me the $1 million. I always heard it said over that way. That's not what it says. What it says is that, I don't have to prove my amaratzis, but that's the way I always heard. What the Kehillas Shivtei actually says is that if Hashem wants to give you a gift, it's not about the $1 million. It's about this mitzvah. He's giving you a mitzvah. The mitzvah is the gift. And the reason why he's bringing this Kehillas Rabbi Tzadok is bringing this Kehillas Shivtei is l'lamdeinu, that the mitzvah itself is the gift that we're talking about here. It's the same thing where the Mishnah says, Shishchar mitzvah, like besides for thinking about you're going to get to a bigger mitzvah, or even you're going to get, at the pearly gates, you're going to get like really good treatment. But the mitzvah itself is what I just gave you now. Don't underestimate what I just gave you. I gave you an opportunity. It reminds me, and again, I'm saying it isn't emotional, but just happens to be yesterday, somebody was telling me that something's going on at work. It's not working out. He doesn't think it's working out at work. So I said, what do you mean? They're firing you? They're knocking your salary? What's going on there at work? So he said to me, they stopped giving me work to do. I'm sitting there with nothing to do. So, okay, Hava Amina, that's nice.
It's a government job.
What does it mean?
It means that they're discovering that he's. The negative side is that they're discovering that he's not actually that useful. That he can do without him, or else it's just that he's getting some free time.
Or they're marginalizing him.
Yeah.
Like even if his work, like I could tell them, maybe they can't fire me legally right now. Maybe this, maybe that. Maybe it just makes it. But the point is, like, if Hashem's not giving you, if you don't meet that guy on the highway with the flat tire, or the fellow needs a loan, like Hashem's not giving us work. It's like very harif. Like that's not what we want. Schar mitzvah. So far, before we said anything, I just the chiddush in the pshat in the Mishnah of schar mitzvah is not the next mitzvah, but this mitzvah, yeah, and it's different than mitzvah gereris mitzvah. What's the pshat in schar avera? We still need to understand schar avera. You said pshat. What did you say? Where do we ever find that the onus for an avera is called schar?
Your understanding of schar is wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
This is just as it is.
It's like such a brisker shot, like you say shot without saying shot.
It goes along the same lines. Just like when we have do a mitzvah, we have an opportunity. Hashem presents us with an opportunity to give to do another mitzvah. So too, if there's an avera, suddenly that opportunity to do an avera is going to show up. So it's a schar.
No, we're saying it's not the pshat. Schar mitzvah is the mitzvah itself.
You're talking about avera.
That's good. That makes sense. Avera is avera. Before you know it, you're part of the mafia. I get it. But what is schar avera?
The same thing, no? The bear itself is
It's its own punishment.
its own punishment.
Why is it called schar?
Scar, why they call it scar?
Yeah. Onish.
Oh, you're saying it's onish?
Okay, so okay, let's just fix our understanding right now, because we're a sophisticated group here. Schar is payment. Like,
What you get.
no. I agree. I just want to bring it out. That in other words, if you're socher adira, so it's not like you're getting rewarded with because I gave you money. Socher the dira. It's a type of
transaction.
That's a transaction, right? I'm paying you, and you're giving me a deal. Like we're not, or when you say shomer sachar, so isn't it like when nobody's doing anybody any favors here? I'm watching your goat, and you're giving me money. Like we're
exchange of value.
yeah. So it's kind of like
It's a negative reward.
so I think we got to lose the word reward. We got to lose the word in our context, not really reward. Now, just so it's interesting because like schar mitzvah hayal maleka, for instance. So I just begin to wonder. That means you don't get rewarded, or this transactional device, like I did a mitzvah, like I'm socher a dira. So, but the dira is not here. I'm socher the dira in olam haba. It's not even about like schar that right. This is important. Not like schar that okay, now I'm going to have like angels around me and singing and all. Maybe, but that's like a Muslim idea or a Christian idea. It could be that the idea here is the schar mitzvah b'ha'al maleka. So in my Rav Tzaddik, which is a nice Rav Tzaddik, by the way, so he brings here a different Rav Tzaddik, and I just, before I go further with this, and he says here, from the Sefer Yisrael Kedoshim, one of the many beautiful svarim of Rav Tzaddik, there he defines Yisrael Kedoshim ois yud, schar mitzvah, says it in different words, which help us. Hainu ha-mitzvah atzma, ma shemachnesas kedusha l'leiv, the mitzvah, when you do a mitzvah, your heart has become holier. L'chein, before you do a mitzvah, you say, asher kitshanu, b'mitzvaysav mitzivanu. Asher kitshanu, like, so we have a hint how to go deeper into this. Asher kitshanu, the schar mitzvah, says Reb Tzaddik in Yisrael Kedoshim, is that, thank you, I've done this mitzvah, and whatever it's going to bring in the future, very nice, but it might improve my relationship with the guy on the road and all that. Maybe you'll be like in a storybook, the guy sends you $1 million or something because he was stuck. But the schar mitzvah, when you do a mitzvah, you have kedusha. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu. Thank you for the kedusha. So the schar mitzvah is the mitzvah. So what are you going to do with? He speaks this out. What are you going to do with this kedusha? What's the v'zehu hamatan schar? That's the schar. The l'macher l'kabel scharam that we're going to get in olam haba. Shal yedei hakedusha shebelev. Because now that I have Kedusha and Leyv, this is revolutionary, Rabbi. I just want to tell you, this is revolutionary. Appreciate this. Because what's Olam Haba anyway? Olam Haba einoi ella hargashas Kedusha el Yaina. You get the revolution? The whole Olam Haba, everything we talk about Olam Haba, einoi ella Hargasha Kedusha El Yoina. It means that after we pass from this world, our neshama remains, goes into an eternal world, and in that world, there's an Or El Yoin, and depending on how we lived our life, either we have hana from that Or El Yoin, we're basking in the light of the Or El Yoin, or the Or Elyon is just hell. They always say in yeshivas this vart that there's no difference. There's really no difference between Gan Eden and Gehenna. It's just this, what they say in Litvish yeshivas. It's just base medrash where you get to sit and learn without any daigas. So for the tzaddikim, that's a tremendous schar. For the rishoyim, it's hell. It's going to make me sit here all day long and learn. But it's the same mitzius. It's the same cheftza. So there's an Or Elyon. Says Reb Tzaddik, how do I know this? This is unbelievable. This is so different than everything that we're ever taught and anything we imagine. So he says, because it's a Gemara in Brachas Yud Zayin Amud Beis. Olam haba ein boy loy achila v'loy shtia v'loy this v'loy that ella tzadikim yoshvim b'nanim miziv hashchina tzadikim yoshvim v'atreseim b'roshayim I think his lesson is, yes, that's a whole thing, which is no small thing. In other words, whatever we are here in this world for the years that Hashem gives us in this world, okay, so we get to feel good, we get to be healthy, we get to drive a nice car, whatever it is. But the olam haba, like the eternity of the neshama, like the long picture, is not that. The long picture is that your neshama returns to Hashem, and because we went through the tikkun that we went through in this world, because we did mitzvahs in this world, still needs another little bit of hezber. So now we're in a place of being able to be nehene, to have hana from the ziv hashchina. Our neshama goes back to the ziv hashchina, very, very pashut. I don't know what this is against. I mean, maybe it's against. It feels to me like even as might be psukim that are not that are saying something different. But that's what the Gemara says. Ein boy lo achila v'lo shtia. There's no nothing. All these things that we consider to be hana in this world don't exist in olam haba. El tzadikim yoshvim. If you're a tzaddik, you're sitting, and what are Rishoyim doing? Sitting right next to him. But they're right, okay. But they're not nana miziv hashchina. So thank you, Hashem, schar mitzvah, go bring a carbon for me because of the mitzvah shikha. Thank you, Hashem, that right now you've created this kind of like eternity in my neshama that I'll be able to, like, this is what I'm thanking Hashem for. I'm bringing a carbon oil shlamim, and I'm besimcha, because and Hashem has just given me a gift of a mitzvah because now I've created some kind of an eternal aspect to my neshama, which can be makabel. It's a kli for the or of the ziv hashchina. Everyone see the chiddush here? And of course, this immediately reminded me of the Nefesh HaChaim. There's the Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Aleph, Parak Yud Beis. Nefesh HaChaim says, words here. Sorry, give me a second. Here. Inyan, here he's talking about, if you were with us for the Nefesh HaChaim, you'll remember that Nefesh HaChaim speaks a lot in Shar Aleph about what you do in this world, how it affects not just this world, but many worlds. Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, Asiya, and he says, like what you're doing here is not limited to here. What you're doing here has these external and eternal effects. He quotes the pasuk of Yaakov, Chevel Nachalosai. That it's the point is the Chevel. It's like a rope that comes down from Shemayim. So if you take a rope that's coming from a very high place, let's say it's on top of a skyscraper, and you move the rope a little bit on the bottom there, so it's not the pshat, you're moving the rope on the bottom. The whole rope is moving. You can't, the rope is moving all the way up to the Shemayim. The rope is moving. So, says Reb Chaim Volozhin, that's the whole parak, is whatever you do here in this world, so you're moving the rope for the whole world. And then he says, then Advarim, Ki poyal adam yishalim lai. It's a pasuk in Eov. Ki poyal Adam Yishalim Lai. Hainu Sheme'esha Oila Al Tayar Machshavas Adam Lasos Mitzvah. In the moment that one says, okay, I'm going to engage in a mitzvah now, Tekef Nasa Rishumai Lamala, stuff's already happening Lamala. B'shar Shoy Ha'elyain. Live nice, Lintoya, Kamoi Lamais V'koichos El Yoinim. It's planting, it's building. Kehillas Shivtei all happening here. Umamela, and therefore, Misoyer Mamshich Gam Olav, what's happening now that I've built this whole situation in Shemayim, right? I'm turning the rope here. I don't think I'm doing anything. I don't feel like I'm doing anything so significant. I'm just moving a rope around. Like imagine this, you're walking by a construction site and you start just playing with the rope and the guys up on top going back and forth. So you don't think you're doing anything, but you're shaking up the whole Shemayim over here. But what happens in the Shemayim is Mamela, what happens when you move the rope is Misoirer Umamshich Gam Olav or Hamakiv Me'akadusha El Yoina. You brought an or makif onto yourself. Who are Messiah Lagamra, and that helps you to finish the mitzvah. The Nefesh HaChaim, I spoke this morning, if you were listening, that the Mishnah Berurah says, "Amaschil b'mitzvah oimrim like Gemara." So if you daven slichas, you have to daven shacharis. The pshat is that a person who's maschil, like you move the rope a little bit, al pi Kabbalah, you move the rope a little bit. So then what happens is, oimrim like Gemara, he gets a siyata d'shmaya to finish the mitzvah. In other words, the fact that you engage in, like sometimes you think a mitzvah is too hard. Get into that mitzvah, I don't want to even get into it. No, you get into it, now you've built this whole castle in Shemayim, and now you have the siyata d'shmaya to finish the mitzvah. If you don't start, you're not going to have that siyata d'shmaya. V'acher goimrei ha-mitzvah kedusha va'or mistalik l'shar shay. Mizehu Indian schar olam haba, says the Nefesh HaChaim, that this is what olam haba is all about. Ma'aseh yedei ha'adam atzmai. This is, wrap your brain around this. The olam haba is nothing other, says Nefesh HaChaim, than ma'aseh yedei ha'adam atzmai. It's what we've created. Olam haba is what we've created. Sha'acher predas nafshe me'aguf, because what happens is when your nefesh will leave your guf, as it does for everybody, eventually, hu ha'oila lis adein, well, that neshama, ola lis adein ulaspia nafshe b'tzachtzachos ha'oiros v'akoichos v'ha'ilamais ha'kadoshim. Now you're sitting in the place that you have built. It's in the toisvu that it's getting bigger and bigger. You know. So, what this means, and I want to just share with you a moral in a second, but what this means, Shivtei Yeshurun, is in other words, when the way I'm understanding it, if I'm correct, is that when a person comes to the Shemayim, it's not like, we invite you for din. Shalom, like, have a seat. Here's your malach kategar, here's your sanegar, even though you don't deserve it, the state, God has hired somebody to defend you. Kategar, sanegar. And then they give him a verdict. In other words, okay, you get purgatory for 10,000 years or something like. But that seems to be like the storybook. What the situation is when we get to the Shemayim. I've never been, but Malach Hashem says, "Let me show you the home you have built." Different image, but the term is that it's not just let me show you the home that you've built, but let me show you the degree of or makif you've built for yourself, and the amount of hana. You get a 90, you get an 80, you get 100. The amount of hana you will have for all of eternity, but not as the Gemara says, el nena miziva shchina. Like here's your hana degree. You're in low class, business class, first class. It has to do with the amount that you're going to be nena miziva shchina. So when we learned, and he goes on and on about this, that Kol Yisrael Yesh Lem Chelik B'Olam Haba, it's talking about exactly what we've created in Olam Haba. But so that's like a change of understanding, and that's what Reb Tzadok, I believe, means when he talks about when Hashem wants to give you a gift, He gives you this mitzvah. So now you've increased your receptor, your or receptor for the or makif. Am I clear on this before I go further? So Maral, which I find yesodistic in Tiferes Yisrael, Parak Yud Gimel. the Maharal asks the following question. First of all, he says the same yesod that we just said. It's the Tiferes Yisrael Yud Beis, in the beginning Yud Gimel. He says the same yesod that this is a little bit different. I keep thinking about this. I'm sorry to be repetitious, but I want to get the fine point here. It's like you made your bed, sleep in it. It's a little bit deeper than that. It's this is your bed. Like this is what you've created for yourself. So many Gemaras make sense when you understand this. But the Maharal asks the following question: Yisro comes. He sees Klal Yisrael coming out of Mitzrayim, and he comes. Vayishma Yisro. He hears. Mashmu Hashem Ova. What did he hear? So Chazal say, Rashi brings it about Kriyas Yamsuf, Chamas Amalek. We can relate more to Kriyas Yamsuf at this moment. Okay. How do Chazal know that that's what he heard? They're in his head. How do they know? Okay, Basura, that's what he heard. He heard about Kriyas Yamsuf, he came running. He didn't come running when he saw the Makos, like he didn't come running, and he was l'chara an oived avodah zarah, or at least koimer la'avodah zarah. He was familiar with avodah zarah. But let's look for a second at. Maharal says, let's look for a second what Yisro actually said. Yisro said, "Why did I come? Ki ati yadati." Help me with the pasuk. Ati yadati ki gadol Hashem mikol Elokim. Or should that be Elohim, right? Ki gadol Hashem yud kei vav kei mikol Elohim. I see now that gadol Hashem mikol Elohim, him, chol, ki badavar asher zadu aleihem. Because look at this midah keneged midah that just happened. And by the way, this is the makar, I believe, for the idea of midah keneged midah. So what Yisro said is that I see something like terrific over here. I see that the Mitzrayim were killing your babies in water, sending the children of Israel into the Nile. And now they're getting killed with water. So B'davar Asher Zadu Aleim, I saw Kriyas Yamsuf and Amalek is the same thing, but let's just talk about this, it's easier. Ki B'davar Asher Zadu Aleim, what he saw here, what Yisro witnessed here, in his own words, is I see a midah keneged midah. Why does that make Gadol Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei Mikol Elohim? So, like, in other words, Vayishtachavu Elohim Acherim. So Yisro was makayim that. He was an expert in avodah zarah. Now avodah zarah, I'm paraphrasing the Maharal here. Bear with me. Avodah zarah, I spoke a lot about on Tisha B'av. Avodah zarah could be works. Avodah zarah is a koach in the bria that it can make your crops grow. It can make the rain come down. It's aster lishtamish boy because they know in milvadoi. But you see throughout Tanakh, Yeshayahu, Yecheskel, that the people weren't willing to give up the avodah zarah so fast, and that's why we had the Churban Beis Hamikdash all the way from Pesel Micha coming out of Mitzrayim all the way till the end of the Bayis Rishon. Nobody wanted to give up their avodah zarah, and you see what all the Nevi'im spoke about was the avodah zarah. So Yisro was Baal avodah zarah. Moshe Rabbeinu Shver, Moshe, he was like Ovid avodah zarah. What I would imagine is that what does it mean to be like a paganologist? What it means is that people would have different problems. My field's not growing. My blood pressure is up. Whatever the issue is, not healthy, and they can go and he can evoke the correct avodah zarah. The atayadati, and now I see, says Yisro, ki gadol Hashem, that the Yud Kei Vav Kei is bigger than all this Elohim stuff that I'm involved with. Gadol Hashem Mikol Elohim, bigger than all the Elohim is Gematria Teva. So it's bigger than all of the things that are going on in this world, which I can possibly fix, but I'm fixing it here. Here you have something very interesting, says Yisrael. You have B'davar Asher Zadu Aleim, right? The Maral. That's a pshat. That's just pshat in the pasuk. Ask the Maral if schar mitzvah b'hayal maleka, right? And therefore he says it follows schar avera. He also calls schar avera b'hayal maleka. Like you're not getting in this world. So what does mida connected mida even mean? You heard the kasha? Like, what does it even mean? Forget about that Yisro was taken with this, but how can there be ever a mida connected mida in our own lives? And we know it's a concept. So you get tit for tat. So how could it be a concept at all if everything that's happening is all in this other world? Yeah? Says the Maral, his Lashonis are not usually the Lashonis of Kabbalah. You understand that the Maral, like the Arizal, was right after the Gerush Svarad. And they both say the same thing. The Maral and the Arizal say the same thing, but they had different languages for some reason. So the Arizal talks about there's a Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. And the Maral speaks, this is just a klal of Maral, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. Nefesh Chaim speaks about Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, quoting the Arizal, Naran. So Nefesh is here in this world. Ruach says that Nefesh Chaim is the connector to the Neshama, which is attached to Olam Haba, like a balloon. If you remember like a person blowing the balloon. The Lashon Maral, which means the same thing, is that there's Guf, Neshama, and Olam Haba, all contained within the person. Neither one is from the Lashon of the Sefer Yetzirah. It's like they're explaining something, the same thing. So there's my Guf. My Guf, I have a Neshama. And the Neshama is connected to my Olam Haba. But like the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, it's all here contained, says the Maral, my Olam Haba is right here with me. Now this is the same thing as we're learning. My Olam Haba is right here. It's right here. It's like my neshama, my Olam Haba. It's not like, okay, now I'm going to Olam Haba. So this is like even a deeper hesper. To finish off, and maybe we'll continue next week, but that it means to say that my Olam Haba is right here. Says the Maral, such a magnificent vart, that Mida Keneged Mida is like, it goes all the way, meaning like, I've just now, Schar Mitzvah Hayal Malaika, I've just created something which I'm not going to be able to appreciate until my neshama leaves this goof, but I've also just created a difference in my goof, and a difference in my neshama, and a difference in my Olam Haba. It's all one thing. So what Yisroi chapped at this moment is that I thought that Schar Mitzvah B'Hayal Malaika, so all you guys, all the Jewish people, you're working, you're never going to see any benefit until some mysterious place when you die. Now I see that it's a chain. Yaakov Chevel Nachlosei, the same thing Nefesh Chaim says. Now I see that it works itself all the way down, and it starts where Paro, where the Chel Paro is being drowned in the Red Sea, and it ends up in Olam Haba. So Yisrael was taken with this. Why? Because the whole Avodah Zarah thing is like, okay, I'm in charge of this world. Elohim, Teva. No. Ki Gadol Hashem Mikol Elohim. That it all connected, and I can't disconnect what's going on in the Teva from what's going on in the Shemayim. Point is, and let's leave it on this note, point is a very clear point that this is all one thing. Schar mitzvah mitzvah. And this is what Rabbi Tzadok is teaching here, and he goes on to teach in the next couple of paragraphs. Schar mitzvah mitzvah means that it's all intrinsic, it's all contained. the schar of the mitzvah, bein bolam haza, bein bolam haba, it's a change in who I am. And by the way, just a finishing sentence, that b'chlal, like Reb Tzadok's shita, which I'm not sure anybody argues with it, but Reb Tzadok says over and over again in many of his svarim, that mitzvahs, as Lashon Zayar, hem taryag itin, there are 613 eitzes as how to cleanse and perfect and create fitness in your neshama. That's what it is. So it's all about like the sculpture, and that we're born to sculpture this piece of rock and then just getting it a little bit more shape and a little bit better and a little bit geschmacker. And that's what the whole life is, to do this. And then when you get it right, it works beautifully here and it works beautifully in Olam Haba and Hanistarim L'Hashem Elokeinu. But the point is, it's all one thing, and we are creating and living both in this world and in the next world in the Or Hamakiv. That's what's L'Kula Alma, and that is what Olam Haba is. Okay, thank you. Welcome back.
So then how do we understand schar? What does it mean?
So it's called Midah Keneged Midah. It's not the schar. It's not the schar. It's just a simple result on the lowest level. But davar asher zadu aleim, that it's a simple result on the lowest level as to what happens when you do a mitzvah or an avera. Like we say, v'hayim shemaya tishmal mitzvahs asher onoichi v'asafta degonecha v'zirash v'tzirach. That's not schar. Schar mitzvah v'ayam aleika, the Gemara. It's just the Metzias, because why is the Metzias? This is the Chachma of Maral. It's the Metzias because you can't, Yaakov Chevel Nachalasa, just like you can't separate the guy on top of the rope to the guy on the bottom of the rope. You can't separate in any way Olam Haza and Olam Haba. That was Yisro's great epiphany.
And schar mitzvah, it's not talking about, it sounds like that's talking about.
No, that's talking about the Kedusha.
So how, but that's.
Besides
but
for
isn't he receiving that in this world, some aspects?
Yeah, but that's not what the Pirkei Avos is talking about. What the Pirkei Avos is talking about is schar mitzvah. The way I understand it is that's true, and we find that it'll make a difference in this world. But what the Mishnah is being machadash to you is that the mitzvah itself is the schar of kedusha.
But isn't that kedusha what Rav Tzadok said in his other sefer? That's what he feels now. That's in this. That kedusha is
also. Why we don't need to separate it?
But yet we say schar mitzvah. There does seem to be a
that schar mitzvah being nana meziva shchina. That part of it can't happen in this world. The consequences, if you will, or that will happen in this world. So, like take my example. You help a nani. Okay, you've built yourself a beautiful home in Olam Haba, but there's also the immediate appreciation. So that's not even Midah Keneged Midah. That's just right here, B'hai Alma. You're getting a geschmack.
So there's different levels of schar.
That's what it comes down to. So schar avera is it's the schar. The schar means the result. That's the new taich, the result.